Gather around the bonfire, children. It's time for another story. A long time ago, about 2 months to be exact, a heroic, handsome, but completely silly dog was invading other worlds in the Crucifixion Woods. He entered one specific world and realized that the host and their two phantoms were already engaged in deadly combat with his co-invader. In a desperate attempt to save his teammate, he forsook his chance to cast Tears of Denial and rushed to his co-invader's aid. The following footage is his tale. Welcome back to Stories from the Swamp, Episode 2, The Streamer and the Strawman. Once again, we'll be noting two interesting or unusual things about this invasion. The first notable thing, which isn't maybe notable at all, is the co-invaders we'll be seeing over the course of it. Normally, the Crucifixion Woods is filled with inexperienced watchdogs who die in 15 seconds at best and attack you instead of the host at worst. But in this invasion, we get 3 different co-invaders who I regard as good players. Depending on how involved you are with the invasion community, you might recognize some PlayStation Network IDs. But anyway, the reason why I'm getting good co-invaders instead of clueless Farron watchdogs is because the first co-invader, who the heroic, handsome, and silly dog rushed down to rescue, was none other than Pincognito of Twitch fame, whose stream I was co-invading with at the time. This is probably not very interesting in of itself, I'll admit, but it is worth noting that by invading in the same area as an invasion stream with a good number of viewers, my odds of getting a good co-invader rather than a much less useful random watchdog increased notably. It's also worth noting that by joining in on various Dark Souls 3 streams, you start to recognize familiar names and regulars in these environments, and at some point you start to realize that there are some pretty cool invasion-oriented communities centered around these streams. Joining these communities can lead to a whole lot of opportunities. There are plenty of people who are willing to help you out with buildcraft or drop you stuff in the game. They'll play with you in various ways, or you can just talk with them about this great game. The platform I stream on and watch other people stream on is Twitch. I know a pretty reasonable percentage of the YouTube audience doesn't enjoy Twitch in the same way they enjoy YouTube. But if you are personally interested in checking out various streams you could try to co-invade with, hang out with, and you don't really know where to start, I'll be throwing a whole bunch of links to various invasion streamers in the description. I'll even split them up by PC and PS4 so that you can, isolate your platform. I'm not really aware of any Xbox One streamers, unfortunately, so you're kind of out of luck at that point. So at this point in the invasion, Phantom's Tears have just been popped. One Phantom has already been killed. We've lost a few co-invaders along the way, but shit happens. Sometimes you just get blundered or whatever. Things are looking pretty good, honestly, overall. I haven't had to use that much Estus. I've been able to handle both of these guys in the 2v1 pretty well. And then Mook invades. And these gankers are all of a sudden in big trouble. Big trouble. There's another one. Nice little run backstab there. Wasn't able to hit confirm his first R1 with the Ugs because I rolled late and there was a bit of latency. So I was able to sprint around his back for that. But anyway, this is where the second interesting part of the invasion comes in. Namely, the mail I'm going to get from this host. I don't even know how I would categorize it. As promised in episode 1, it is not really what I would call hate mail, but it is interesting mail. I originally thought it was going to be called odd mail because it was just very weird, I didn't really understand it all that well. But as time went on, I decided that there was a better categorization for it, which, anyway, we'll see. We'll get into the mail right here. I didn't really understand their initial first query of how long, so I jokingly responded 3 meters because I'm assuming they were talking in terms of time, and I decided to go with distance. But anyway, then I asked what they actually meant. And I think, based on their response, they were wondering how long until I would re-invade and destroy their gang squad again. So anyway, I couldn't resist a little pokey jab at them saying, I think I already did that. I'm making jokes, okay? But anyway, I did say, I'm quitting now. It was 1:03 a.m. at that point, and I needed to sleep. So I got off, and they said, oh, yep, sure, sleep well. And I said, thank you, and told them to have fun. And it was a very cordial and relaxed encounter, but I figured, you know what, that'll be the end of it. It was a little weird, not always clear. English is not their first language, I've since discovered, but at this point, I thought that would be the end of it. But then the next day, I got another message from them, and it was actually very weird. I shall tell you, I'm surprised. I thought you were an arrogant person. Fortunately, I think I was wrong. And I said, it's not always reliable to tell who somebody is from their in-game character. And that's actually pretty interesting to me, because essentially they had formed opinions about who I was outside of the game based on their interactions with me in-game. And then upon actually talking to me, they found their expectations to be inaccurate. This is kind of a strawman argument, rather than gaining a complete representation of someone, you take a single characteristic of their person and make up the rest. And I mean, we all do this. I used to do it a lot to gankers. And if you've ever spent 5 minutes on Reddit, you know PvE players do it to invaders. But interestingly, if you can spend just a little more time getting to know the person behind the strawman representation, you can discover they're just another person trying to have fun with the game, just like you are. There are exceptions. I mean, some people are always going to be assholes. I'm not going to say that they're not. But without any sort of proper conversation, you're always going to be stuck at the strawman stage with at best an outline of who a person really is. Anyway, that's where the story should end. But it actually continues for a bit longer. This person, they sent me a friend request on PSN and now frequently hangs out in my Twitch streams. They're from Brazil. They sent me a bit of cheeky trash talk when I was fighting some of their compatriots on stream. But yeah, they like my streams, and we've had some discussions. One time I was singing a sort of DS3 version of Climb Every Mountain from The Sound of Music on stream, and we had a brief conversation about classic movies. We've talked about the quarantine and wished each other well in these times. And frankly, we still don't really know each other. But we have a pretty cordial relationship now, which has at least surpassed the strawman level of superficiality, and all of that was only possible because we started up some level of dialogue. Hence why the final label I decided to use on this video was Dialogue Mail. Two people who enjoy the game in different ways listening to each other. Anyway, that's all for Stories from the Swamp, the Streamer, and the Strawman. Hope you enjoyed. Keep it silly, y'all.